Hi, and welcome to this lecture on Booleans. In this lecture, we're going to learn about what Booleans are, Boolean values, evaluating values and variables, values that are true, values that are commonly false, and some common errors that you might come across. Okay, let's open our script editor. So today we're going to go into panel, go about 5 up, and go to the script editor. Okay, let's clear our output window. Let's make sure everything's big and easy to read. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, what are Booleans? So Booleans are data types representing one or two values, true or false. These values are generally used within expressions or if condition statements. So let's go with a little example. So let's say x equals 3. Okay, we can make now a condition that says if x is higher than 1, then print string x is more than 1. Okay, we can also have the parameter, or that can go within the else condition, part of the condition that goes print x is less than 1. Okay, so now we have our expression within our condition, and we are saying, well, if x is higher than 1, then print x is more than 1. If the condition is failed to be met, okay, then we go with else, and we say print x is less than 1. So let's go x is, okay, let's actually run this. We can always do that. That would be a lot better. All right, brilliant. So x equals 3, and x is more than 1. Okay, it's got it. Brilliant. Okay, let's make x minus 3. What will our output now be? Okay, perfect. X is less than 1. So you see, this has done exactly what we wanted it to. Our statement has checked our variable x. It's returned in plain English what category the value of x falls into. So if you've got a user that wants to check something, you can return them the plain English like this. And when you run the condition, or run the expression within the condition, okay, Python returns a true or false value, allowing it to run or not to run. So if this is true, then if true, if this expression turns out to be true, you will get this expression. Oh, sorry, this print statement coming out. Okay, if it's false, okay, you'll get this. It's as simple as that. It's not too crazy. Okay, and I'm pretty sure you'll pick this up in no time because it formulates, or it governs essentially all of the code that you have to write to these true or false statements. Okay, let's move on. So Boolean values. As we've seen above, any expression is true or false when we compare two values. The expression is evaluated in Python and returns a Boolean answer. These comparison operators check values against each other. We will go further into this later in these lectures, but here are some examples. Okay, so let's go with print. Go 10. Okay, is higher than 9. So got a little comparison operator here, which is the greater than operator. And we're saying 10 is higher than 9. Result, true. Print it. Okay, true. All right, this is giving us the Boolean response. So this is a Boolean. This is not the text. This is not returning us a string. This is returning us a Boolean. Okay, but we could also do is equal to 10. And this will also give us true. Sorry to spoil the end of that one. But yeah, 10 is 10. Well, it's 10.1. It's pretty close. Is that the same as 10? False? No, it's not. It doesn't matter what you put. Okay, if it's not the exact same value, then it will not be the same. Okay, how about the float string, the float 10 against the integer 10? True, they are the same value. Okay, even though their types are slightly different, the value of them is the same, which is what is being measured here. Okay, what about 10 less than operator? Let's go for this. So left arrow, 9. So is 10 less than 9? No, false. Okay, so as simple as that. All of these statements, essentially their checks are going to give you either true or false. Okay, that is all that they are going to do for you. But okay, let's have a quick look at evaluating values and variables, because when writing code, we can check these before we actually write the condition to kind of check our expected output. Okay, so when writing code, we can use the bool function as we saw within the data types lecture, and we can evaluate and check any value and whether that value is true or false. So let's go for print. Let's go for bool. Okay, and let's go for 24. So now this is literally going to evaluate and return back what the output of that is. Is this true or false? Okay, it's very useful. All right, let's also do the string. Let's go for string 24. True. Okay, easy. How about we evaluate and we check something else? Let's go for true equals, interesting. Okay, false. Okay, I don't know why Maya decides to get rid of the highlighting of that, but fair enough. So true equals false. Now, what are we going to get here? False. True does not equal false. So this is telling us that this comparison operator is giving us the false return out of this check here, this condition. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. This is just a very good way. The bool operator, sorry, the bool function is a very good way to check, okay, whether something, what the expected output of something will be, okay, if you're unsure for the future. So let's have a quick look. Let's move forward and have a look at values that are true. All right, because pretty much every value that we look at is going to be true if it has some sort of content. So let's have a little look. Okay, X, Y, Z, pretty useful axes. But okay, is this going to be true? Yes, it's a string and it has content. Okay, anything in this string will give it content and mean that it is true. Okay, so if you're searching for items within your scene, or if you're looking for specific data types, maybe within a list or within some captured data you have within your function, if it has a name or if the string has content, it will return true. Okay, it does not matter if you have it as false. This is just a string with data. Again, it's not seeing the false here. It's seeing the data that is within the string. So that is what you've got to remember. Okay, if we put false, then obviously it's going to be false because you are now evaluating false. But false, once it's encapsulated with quotation marks, it now becomes a string with content. So now it is going to evaluate as true. Okay, let's put a bool without any content. So what have we said? Yeah, it's got no content, so it's false. Simple as that. Yeah, sorry, I should keep on trying to clear this for you, make it a bit easier. Okay, what about if we put a space in it? Okay, is this going to count as content? Yes, the space is always going to count as content. Okay, it doesn't matter what the content is. Okay, the content is content. This is a space, and it is seen as true because it has some sort of input. All right, so let's have a look at numbers that are true. All right, basically any number you put in is going to be true. 1.1, 1.2 is true. Okay. Okay, 123 is true. Okay, how about minuses? So they're all going to be, I mean, anything below 0, is that going to be true? Yes, it's true. It's, again, it's an amount. Okay, this is where it becomes more interesting though, because again, 0 and 1, okay, these are what we're looking at, 0, 1. Okay, 0 and 1 are the only kind of numbers that really are important to you when you're looking at true or false. Okay, these are essentially what you're looking at, and 0 is false. It is essentially nothing. Okay, we already know that. But 1 is a content number, so or it has content, has value. It's true. So just try and remember that these are the two numbers that are essentially what you're going to be working with most of the time with true or false. True or false, 1 and 0. Okay, these are what you've got to be working with. Okay, so let's have a look. List, tuples, sets. Okay, anything that you put within these, again, the content is going to register them as being true. So let's go with even just an empty string. Actually, let's an empty string within a list. True. See? Okay, it doesn't matter. It's got content, so it's true. Doesn't matter how many items there are, what they are. Okay, it's always going to evaluate these as true. Even another empty list within inside the list. Okay, it's true. All right, brilliant. Okay, and how about this? What do we think that this is going to evaluate to? Okay, what is this? It's not got content. So if we print this, yeah, there you go. It's false. Okay. So basically no content. Simple as. Okay. Let's go. Section 5. Simple. Values are false. Okay, we've just done all the true ones with a few examples in there. But okay, there are not many values that really evaluate to false except empty values. Okay. So such as empty square brackets or an empty list. Okay. So give a few more examples. Let's go for, so parentheses. Let's go curly brackets. All of these are going to evaluate to false because they are all empty. All right. And of course, the value false evaluates to false as we showed earlier. Unlike the string, okay, this is not to be confused because this string is a string containing data. So it's easy to get confused with this, but just remember, okay, look at the type and then look at if it contains information. So we've got our bool check here. Let me just maybe just give some spaces just to help us read this. Okay, so we've seen false. Easy. False is false. We know that. Okay. What about true? True. Okay, it's true. We're giving it already basically the Boolean it's asking, or it wants. Okay, but 0. False. Okay, that's it. 1 and 0. Okay, 1 true, 0 nothing. How about none? Remember, none is specifically its own type. It is not 0. False. So again, if you write out something, if you write out any kind of function, something that has a none type to it will evaluate as false. Okay. But make sure that you are checking it specifically against a Boolean type, because a none type is not the same as, say, checking that it is another type, which is also empty. So, yeah, none does not equal an empty string, even though both of these are actually going to evaluate individually as false. So this equaling false does not equal this as an equal to false. Okay, because these are actually different types, and a none type is different to an empty string type. And I'm sorry if that is a little bit confusing. I won't go into too much detail about that, but you will get used to that in time, and it's something that you should just get kind of used to. Okay, now let's look at, most importantly, common errors, because I've seen some crazy common errors. I've created crazy common errors in my time. Again, like I've said, tiredness is the murderer of all logic, okay, and intelligence. All right, but here are some common errors that I have noticed in the past and that can easily and commonly occur when working with Booleans. Okay, so naming a variable, let's say you're naming a variable within a program, do not name it explicitly false, because my goodness, this is going to annoy people. Okay, let's say you put it false and then you say, actually, we're going to start off with it true and then we'll alter it going forward. Well, then this naming is just going to really throw people off. And also, most programs have something written in them because there are going to be conditions or variables that will change the state and nature of any given variables within a program. So you want to update them based on logic. If your logic is that an item is always true or false, then an item shouldn't probably exist. It's a defunct. You're not checking against anything. You should just explicitly state that and check for it. So saying saying a variable equals false, if it's never going to be changed, and then naming it or giving it the value of true, or even giving it the value of false, is pretty pointless, because it's just like, why would you do that? There's no need. You should probably think, actually, of just writing something. So let's say you'd written something mad like this, okay? All right. Well, this is never going to evaluate because you've explicitly stated that this variable is false. So let's clean our output window. But you're never going to get this output, are you? Because you've explicitly stated it's false. You might as well just write false. And at that point, you may as well just not write it because it's never going to run. So you've just wasted functionality in here that you're not actually checking for. But let's go a little bit further and then say, actually, no, let's, no, I think that's all we'll leave on that one. But okay, let's think of another one. So setting a variable to true or false, but never checking it against anything, like we're talking about here. So let's say we want to have a variable that door is open. And we set it to false. We want to check. So door is open. So if door is open, print do something. Is this ever going to be called like we just said? No, of course it's not. So again, it's a bit pointless setting this. But okay, maybe you want to explicitly set that a door should be open when the degrees of an asset when checked are above 0. Okay, let's say maybe you returned the information by a script that gives you the degrees of 90. Well, this data might be gathered, passed to you, and now you want to do something that this can be checked against. So let's have a little look. So let's say you get past the information that says door is open, or let's say door value. So let's say door degrees. Let's say we've been given the information that's saying door degrees are at 90. Okay. Now we check for it and say door is open. So we can create our check here, and we can say, okay, door degrees above 0, because 0 would be shut. So if the door is not open at any amount, then it's shut. And then we can say, okay, door is open. And then we'll finally be able to check for it and say, actually, yeah, now we'll run our functionality. So okay, let's clear our window. Let's run this. And we go with, okay, yeah, do something. Okay, the door is open. So let's say we have a little script that it says, if a door is open, then give this functionality to an item. Okay, well, now we've done that. Okay, we're actually checking against it. So this can be the user input that's passed, okay, or information passed to a script. And now we can actually check for it, or we can put this check straight within to the if statement. And we can say, okay, if door is open, okay, basically above 0 degrees, then do something. The only reason we might write it with the condition, with the expression outside of the condition, is because this maybe makes it a bit more readable. Okay, if door is open, I can actually see this statement and go, okay, if door is open, then do this. I get it. Okay, because this is actually what we're explicitly checking. So door 90, I may not have seen the scene. I may not have context to what the script is doing. So actually explicitly stating it within the variable name is very useful to us, okay? And to the future you and to the future users that might look at your script, okay? All right, so that's the basis of Booleans, okay? Not too complicated, but they do kind of essentially control the basis of all your script logic running in the future, okay? Great, nice work. So in this video, we have learned about what Booleans are, Boolean values, executing values and variables, values that are true and checking for them using the bool function, values that are false, again, checking for them, and some common errors that you might come across, okay? All right, if in doubt, again, always just feel free to ask someone, okay? Literally, if you're just starting out, I would rather a junior came up to me and asked me, what they might, I don't know, even you might think that this is a stupid question, or you might think, what is this stupid to ask? But I would rather you ask me a stupid question and I told you the logic behind it so that your thinking could be on the right track than have you unsure and be like, and then just run along with a stupid idea or a really bad practice, okay? It's better, ask questions, okay? If you ask questions, you go write it down in your notepad. You won't probably forget it very easily, or you can come back to your notepad. What does annoy me is if people keep on making the same mistakes they never ask, and I tell them, but they keep on making the same mistake. These are things that annoy me. Again, mistakes aren't bad. It's how you deal with them, okay? If you make a mistake, somebody tells you, you never make that mistake again, or you write it down, you very rarely make that mistake, or you try to automate the problem out, like that's mostly going to be your job going forward in the future, then yeah, people won't be unhappy with you. But way to make people unhappy is to make mistakes often and frequently without ever making change. But okay, I digress. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you on our next video.